Sustainability Studies at Hofstra is a new program. It's an innovative program that brings together environment, economic development, as well as social justice issues within a degree program that helps to transform communities into more sustainable places. I nominated the book, The Good Food Revolution, for the Common Reading Book for this year. The book is an interesting story about urban food at this present moment. We have a number of problems with food in our country, and unfortunately, we're more and more separate from the sources of our food. And Will Allen has developed an interesting agricultural experiment in the city of Milwaukee that's been very successful. I grew up in a small town outside of the city of Milwaukee, and I did my PhD in Milwaukee at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And I'm familiar with the kinds of foods that people ate in that area. Now, if you think about the Midwest, where Milwaukee is located, it's a vast agricultural region, largely focused on dairy production, meat production, and some other types of crops like green beans. But overall, most of the food that's purchased in the grocery stores in Milwaukee comes from all over the world. What Will Allen did in Milwaukee is try to break that and say we could produce our food locally and develop food supplies for the people of the city of Milwaukee, grown entirely using materials in the city of Milwaukee. Now, he took an abandoned parking lot and turned that into a farm using waste from the breweries and making soil from brewery waste, getting local people involved in planting that, providing labor, working on this farm to transform an area of the city of Milwaukee that was a wasteland into this agricultural wonderland. As we've had a number of interesting cases about the breakdown of the modern food system. Just in the last few weeks, we've heard about problems with horse meat entering the meat system in Europe, but also even just the safety of food. With mass-produced meat, a lot of our meat is coming from a handful of processing plants around the country. Plus, there's concern about E. coli contamination of things like lettuce or raw vegetables. Food also is problematic from a broader environmental perspective, because if you look at the amount of energy it takes to produce meat, for example, we see that it's tremendous, where it's much less energy to produce vegetable sources of food, and also to eat food locally. So with this globalized food network system where our food is coming from all over the place, it's highly unsustainable and actually kind of dangerous in terms of environmental health of our planet. If you take a look at what's happening with the new food movement, it really emerged out of the slow food movement, where people started to get concerned over the fact that their food was highly processed and wasn't very healthy for them. So there was a movement to try to slow down the food process for individual consumption. So people would go to farmers markets, they might start a garden, they might go to a restaurant that served locally grown food. That started about 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But then we start to see the development of the organic food movement, where people were concerned about the sources of food to try to reduce the impact of pesticides, herbicides, chemicals that might enter their body through eating food. More and more we're getting into the development of local farms, local food-to-table enterprises that bring food directly to the consumer, and taking out this network of suppliers, global suppliers that produce food for mass consumption around the planet. And that's what's interesting about Will Allen. He brings this notion of community-sponsored agriculture to a new level. He gets communities engaged in their food production. The interesting thing about food and Long Island is that we have a strong locavore tradition on Long Island. We're known for our food. We have great seafood, we have great truck farming, we have great restaurants that provide locally sourced food. And there's a strong small farm movement that has taken hold here on Long Island. We've, at Hofstra last year, hosted the Long Island Small Farm Summit. We'll have another small farm summit coming up in the next year or so. And it's exciting to see that Long Island is a leader in these areas that Will Allen talks about in his book.